Welcome to the Catholic Audio Media Podcast, right here on your favorite podcast platform. And we are talking today, this week, all about the formation of the whole beginning of the tribe of Israel. Now, come to understand part of this. First of all, you have the promised land, and that was the land that was promised to Abraham. And then all of a sudden, now let's begin. That was the land promised to Abraham. There was no name given to the land, but the land, the territory, the boundaries were given to the land. Now, Abraham had two grandsons, Esau and Jacob, and Jacob and his mother kind of played a little game that cost Esau his birthright, his inheritance, and the one who inherited was Jacob, is because essentially people, Esau fell into disfavor, and so Jacob essentially stole Esau's birthright. Now, one of the things we talked about yesterday is, remember, when we're looking at the whole story of Abraham, we're looking at the whole history of Jesus, we do not see perfect people. We see people do manipulation, do all kinds of little stunts, even big stunts. We know of murderers, including Moses and David, both of whom committed murder, David by proxy and Moses directly. And so we know these people are not models of perfect people. And therefore, as I said yesterday, no one's called to be a model of a perfect person. We're called to grow into being not perfect people, but perfect, or trying to model our life off of the perfection of God's love and mercy. So you see that. So that's where we are beginning there, and we see that. Well, here is the beginning of the tribe of Israel by virtue of the fact that the name Israel is given to Jacob. So Jacob changes his name, and he changes his name to Israel. And this is after he has a battle with God. And in doing so, he recognizes that he just had a battle with God. And with that, his name changes to Israel, which means struggles with God. And so who is Israel? Israel is Jacob. We know that. Who is Jacob? Jacob is Israel. So, and who is Jacob/Israel? Grandson of Abraham, brother of Esau, son of Isaac. So we have all this picture. And then who is also Israel? He is the father of what ultimately becomes the 12 tribes of Israel. And so therefore, the 12 tribe names of Israel come from the names of each of the 12 sons of Jacob, who has the name changed to Israel. But what's important to understand is the name Israel means struggles with God. So do understand that that's part of what it means to be someone who is a follower of God. So be careful when someone basically says to you that, if you're looking for a perfectly calm life, everything goes well, etc., 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 just seek to be a disciple, a follower of God. No, you're going to end up struggling with God. You're going to end up fighting with God, because God is going to lead you down some paths that you don't want to go. And Jesus says this to Peter, by the way. Oh, by the way, you're going to be led down some paths you don't want to go. I am. That I am part is not in the Bible. I am, yeah. What? It reminds me of something that I teach people all the time. And that is, remember that when you are seeking to follow Christ, when you are baptized in the faith, you are by default responding to a vocation. And what is the vocation? Jesus calls you. And so it's not a job. it's a vocation. So how does a vocation work? It works really simple. Jesus says, come follow me. And your obvious response is, well, where am I going? Just come follow me. Yeah, but what is the way? Just follow me. And you're going to find you're going to end up walking down a path that maybe you don't want to go. I'll be talking more about this. But that's the path that the Lord led you down. And so you're saying, but Lord, I didn't expect to end up down this path. And he can respond, I didn't tell you which path you were going down. I just said, come follow me. Reminds me of Psalm 23, right? Psalm 23 has an interesting verse in it, and people say, well, I want Psalm 23 because it's this psalm of comfort. Really? Have you ever read Psalm 23? Yes, there is comfort in it, but let's kind of think of it. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to the Catholic Audio Media Podcast. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. You know, I should mention to you as well, to make a comment if you want. Hey, you made some jokes during this. You're not supposed to joke in religion. Oh, really? That's not true. You're not. Nothing's supposed to be. You're supposed to be very serious. Really? That's not true. So anyway, 617-297-7452. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think, what you like, what you don't like. Let's hear what you have to say. And don't forget, I have the opportunity to play your comment during an upcoming podcast. So in any case, what we're looking at is Jesus says, come follow me. And he doesn't say where you're going. Well, what does Psalm 23 say? It really illustrates that well. Though I walk through the valley of death, I fear no evil because you are with me with your rod and your staff. What? What did you, wait a minute, what did you just say? So where are you in Psalm 23? Well, I'm walking through the valley of death. You're walking through where? You're walking through the valley of death. You're walking through the valley of death. And that's what Jesus is teaching. Now, he is leading us through the valley of death. So are you going through a difficult time? Yeah, you can bet you are. There are times you're going to go through this is like walking through the valley of death. Oh, bingo. Because the Lord at times may lead you through very difficult times. But if you turn around and say, I'm done, I'm walking away from it, where do you walk? Where do you go? You walk into the valley of death by yourself. So you have to trust in the Lord, but he's going to get you through some pretty difficult places. You want to find a difficult place to be all by yourself? Try the valley of death. Well, where might that be? Southwest United States. Death Valley. Remember the TV show? Well, maybe you don't. I mean, I wasn't even around during then, but we've heard of the show. Death Valley Days. And there Death Valley Days. There was that TV show. And what's Death Valley? Death Valley is a huge desert. It's a very, it's a desert. So it's a very sparse, hot. I mean, it gets really hot in Death Valley. And therefore, if you're in the valley of death and you're all there by yourself, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to leave the valley of death alive. Do you understand? So this is one of the things that the Lord says. Though I walk through the valley of death, because I being the one doing the walking and following Jesus, though I walk through the valley of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me with your rod and your staff. But I'm in the valley of death. That's where you're leading me. But what does that mean? That means when you respond to a vocation, things may go wrong. I can say that as a priest. You think it's been easy, especially being a priest from the Archdiocese of Boston. I always like to remind people I've had a death threat. There are people who have on Facebook. That's why I hate Facebook. Because I found out if someone threatens your life on Facebook, there's virtually nothing you can do about it. So I've had a death threat on Facebook. So I don't like Facebook at all. And I despise, actually. I don't use it at all. Hey, where are you on Facebook? I'm not. Sometimes it's a very difficult time to live at whatever vocation we're living. You might say, well, maybe a married life, very difficult vocation at times. Maybe you have that difficult son or daughter that are extremely difficult to work with, who maybe have gone astray, who maybe have turned on you, maybe are angry with you, are yelling at you. You have that whole thing. I mean, I remember my father and we had our differences. I want you to tell you, we had our differences. So my father and I had our differences. And so, those teenage years, I remember there were times that we stood on opposite sides of the kitchen. So I may have been difficult for him, but that's part of the vocation. Now, I can give you another part of that in light of my father. My mother was severely handicapped. He didn't bargain for that. He didn't turn around and say, okay, the Lord never said to him, but your wife is going to get really handicapped, but that's okay if you want to walk down there. He didn't tell him anything about that at all. She became severely handicapped when they were married 12 years. And well, actually, she didn't. They were in a car accident, which was the catalyst for what ultimately became a slow-moving process that led her to be severely handicapped. So at the end of her life, she died at 80. She could only move one hand from the neck down. Neck up, she was fine. But from the neck down, she could only move one hand. But during that all time, when she was losing her mobility and she was having struggles with different parts of her body, my father was faithful to her, also dealing with me, faithful to her, none of which he bargained for. You see what I'm saying? And that's part of that, yep, come follow me. Yeah, but where are we going? Just come follow me. I'm not going to tell you where you're going to end up going. So do you see that? And you see how that works. Come follow me. That's part of that vocation, with struggling with God. And we'll be right back. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer. Previews of upcoming podcasts. Previews of upcoming columns over at catholicaudiomedia.substack.com. Your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out, patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. And don't forget, during this time, if you sign up and subscribe on Catholic Audio Media, when it's time to go to fully to have paid subscriptions, you will have been grandfathered into free subscription. So just keep that in mind if you'd like to sign up for a subscription. Grandfathered in, like the grandfather of Jacob, later named Israel, was Abraham. Grandfathered in. There we go. There you go. Bible study and biblical offer and what do you call it? Patreon offer. They're all in one. So in any case, so there you have Jacob getting his name changed to Israel, which means struggles with God. Because if you are going to take your vocation in service to God seriously, you are going to struggle with God. And the more seriously you take it, the more you're going to struggle with God. And I've had my struggles. I've had my times. I can literally tell you this. Well, I can literally tell you anything, but okay. I was at a priest retreat recently, and there was a question. This was done by the people who, this was done by the people who did Rescued, and they were asking us to kind of talk about, to pray about. So talk to God about different things in our life that may be holding us back from giving the Lord our own. And, just ask the Lord to tell you what you think he says is holding you back. Okay, so I'll bring that up in prayer. Now, I told you earlier, it was very difficult. I've even had a death threat because during this time, priests are going through a difficult time because we're being all labeled in bad ways, and we're all attacked in bad ways, and this has become a sport. And later, I was talking to a lawyer recently, and I said, from what I'm seeing, the church is being extorted, and they're using the money for political purposes. And he went, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. And so when I speak out about this, that angers people. And so in any case, as I said, going through real difficult times at times, and they have an effect on me. So, as I'm praying to the Lord, saying, okay, what's holding me back? And I felt the Lord saying to me, trust. Now, I told you I've been through difficult times. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, how can I trust you? Now, not like, oh, gee, Lord, how can I trust you? More like, look at what I've been through, and you're telling me to trust you? Are you kidding me? And then I realized, ooh, this is real. This is true. Now, do you see? And now you realize, you go back to what is the original name for Jacob. What does he change his name to? Israel. What is God? What do we end up doing if we seek to follow the Lord? Struggling with God. Now, God is leading us down a path, but obviously it's going to appear to us to be struggling because that's in fact what it is. Let's go back to my father. My father and my mother, two very faithful Catholics. Yet my mother ended up being severely handicapped, caused by a drunk driver back in 1967. And so very severely handicapped, caused by a drunk driver in 1967, and that ultimately was a catalyst that led to her over the years to become severely handicapped. My father still cared for her, devoted to her for his entire life. He died early. He died at 60. And my mother was without my father, obviously, from that point on. And she ended up being in a home for people of severe handicap. We went to see her there because we couldn't take care of her. Her handicap was so severe. And it wasn't just that we couldn't take care of her. It was that she was vulnerable to problems. I remember one time, and this is sometimes how the Lord works. I was at the seminary. I helped her for a year, and then my brother helped her, and we went back and forth. And my sister, and, we did it. But I was in the seminary, and so I'd come home every so often, actually fairly often, about once a week. And I was with some friends of mine on a Sunday morning. We'd been to Mass, and I had some free time, and I was with them, and something told me I should go home. And so I drove home. And I get into the house, and my mother goes, oh, thank God you are here. And what had happened, at this point, she was in a wheelchair, and she could move around in a wheelchair. It wasn't electric. It didn't go to electric until she went to the home where she was at. So she was in a wheelchair, and the wheelchair caught on one of the knobs of the cabinets. And so she could have been there for days, because she couldn't reach the phone. She was, at this point, she was able to move her hands, her arms. She eventually lost that use, except for the use of the hand, not the arm, the hand. But she could have been there for days, but something told me I needed to go home. And I went home, and there she was. She says, "Thank God you're here." And obviously I got her off the knob, and everything was fine. But you can see what kind of struggle she had, though she had tremendous faith. So when you look at that, you go, wow, this is struggles with God. If you choose to follow the Lord, expect to struggle with God. Though I walk in the valley of death, I walk where you've got me walk. Where the heck are you leading me? Reminds me of a story, a guy in retreat. They were doing one of those trust walks. And so he was blindfolded, and this other guy is leading him. And finally, he just didn't understand where he was going. He pulled off his boat. "Where the hell are you taking me?" Which kind of blew the whole trust walk thing. But yeah, that's what you feel like doing to the Lord. Where the heck are you taking? What have you do? What did I do wrong that I ended up in the situation that I'm in? No, you didn't do anything wrong. What is the name of Israel? What does it mean? Struggles with God. If you choose to follow God and you go through some difficult times, which I'm sure you will, welcome to the club. We'll be right back. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. We're back, and we're talking about this powerful and real experience of living the faith. And we know that struggles with God is a good way to describe what happens when you decide to follow God seriously. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, because how does the nation of Israel begin? It begins with a fight between Jacob and God changes the name of Jacob to Israel because it means struggles with God. And there it is. What does the name Israel mean? Struggles with God. So if you are going to follow God, and be careful of these people. Ever since I came to know Jesus, life's been all kinds of wonderful. Well, how did you work out and get in that deal? Because the rest of us are walking through the valley of death. And sometimes we're not too happy with this valley of death thing. There are times we want to yell out to the Lord like the Hebrews did and to Moses. Hey, I'm not too happy with this valley of death thing. How did we end up here? Remember what the Hebrews were saying to Moses? Hey, we were doing better in Egypt. Yeah, but you were slaves in Egypt. Yeah, but at least we weren't walking through the desert. Yeah, but you were slaves in Egypt. See, I remember a friend of mine saying, remember, pain has no memory. He says, remember that. Pain has no memory. You will always look back at all the good times, and you will never remember the bad times. So that's what the Jews were doing, or the Hebrews rather, at the time. They were looking back at the good times, forgetting the bad times. You see that? And you recognize that. You go, yeah, but you were slaves in Egypt, and you weren't too happy about being slaves. Remember, you prayed to the Lord to free you from slavery. So obviously things were going wrong. Otherwise, you would have said, Lord, we're fine. Don't worry about us. We're fine. Wish you were here. But no, you said, Lord, free us from this slavery. So obviously it wasn't as great as you seem to remember, now was it? So keep that in mind. Struggles with God. When we are with God, we are sometimes, so sometimes your vocation is going to be difficult. And when you turn around, and I always throw turn around in, I don't know why. So when you decide that things are tougher than you expected, and you call out to the Lord, I didn't bargain for this, he can say back to you, yeah, you did. Wait a minute, what do you mean I did? when you said yes. But I said yes to follow me. I didn't say yes to all this stuff. Well, follow me means follow me where I am leading you. Yeah, but I didn't expect you to lead me into the valley of death. Well, you are in the valley of death. But if you keep following me, you will get out of the valley of death. If you turn away, you'll still be in the valley of death. For how long? It's called the valley of death for a reason. So you can see how that works. You see, so anyone who tells you that once we come to know the Lord, our life is perfect and everything's wonderful and everything's just glorious. No. There are times that I have argued with God, and when things have gone wrong, when I'm, especially going through rough times here as priests, all priests are going through, especially here in the United States. And there are times that I have called out to the Lord and said, Lord, the only thing I did that would merit me being here and going through hard times was saying yes to you. So if I didn't say yes to you, it would seem to me that my life would be all kinds of easier. I don't know if that's true, but you see what I'm saying. By saying yes to the Lord, you also say yes to him sending you difficulties. But he also says, trust me, I am leading you through this. You are doing work for me. You are learning from me. You will come to a tremendous amount of glory by doing what you do by following me. But it's going to be difficult. And look at, I've talked about my father. My father and I many times didn't get along, but I still look what my father did. How very powerful and honorable he was, despite the fact there were times that we went through those teenage years, or I went through the teenage years, and, let's just say we didn't see eye to eye. We'll put it that way. And so keep that in mind. Struggles with God is the first name of Jacob after he stopped calling himself Jacob. We'll be right back right after this. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer. Previews of upcoming podcasts. Previews of upcoming columns over at CatholicAudiomedia.substack.com. Your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out, patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. We're back, and do keep that in mind for the Patreon website. If you sign up for a subscription now, right up until about the mid of August, if you sign up for a subscription, and by doing so, you will have permanently be a subscriber for free. So if you do that now, right up until about the middle of August. So that's what we're looking at right now. And in the meantime, we will be back tomorrow. But do remember that we are here every single Monday through Friday. The program actually drops at midnight of the day, obviously the upcoming day. So, the program drops. So that's when it drops, and you can listen to us. And we've changed the format from the 2 15-minute broadcasts to 1 30-minute broadcast. And so there it is. Of course, Catholic Audio Media. And obviously, part of our thing is we are following the Lord who died and rose from the dead, and in him he is the greatest act of defiance to all the forces that want to bring us death. There you are, the greatest. That's what our logo is all about. All those forces in your life that want to lead you off the path into the valley of death. He is the one who conquered death and everything about death in his own death and his resurrection and ascension into heaven. So remember, tune us in tomorrow. Subscribe, comment, call, make a phone call. Tell us what you think. 617-297-7492. In the meantime, we will see you tomorrow.